The Cleveland Cavaliers just swatted the Miami Heat into oblivion like some bothersome fly, while the Indiana Pacers snuffed out the Milwaukee Bucks in a gentleman's sweep. Both entered their series early and therefore both entered the second round with relatively fresh legs. And now they're on a collision course, one that feels like it was months in the making. This, my friends, is shaping up to be one of the most intriguing matchups of the second round, with so many recognizable names on both sides, whether it be Darius, Garland, Donovan Mitchell and Tyrese Halliburton, or Evan Mobley and Pascal Siakam, or Jarrett Allen and Miles Turner. There was a lot of star power here. During the course of the regular season, the two teams met 4 separate occasions, with each being tightly contested battles. Despite that, Cleveland lost 3 of 4 and should definitely enter with a statement to make here. Indiana has proven that they can cause problems for Cleveland with their physicality and ability to disrupt. All of that said, the playoffs are a different game, and each team looks to be operating in prime condition. This should be one hell of a battle. The Cavaliers entered the postseason as one of the most dominant and efficient teams in NBA history and have carried that into the playoffs. They are first in points, scoring 126 per game through the first round. They are first in three-point percentage, completing an absurd 44% of their triples. They are tops in plus-minus at a collective 22.3 per game, and perhaps most eye-popping of all, they hold a mind-numbing offensive rating of 136.2 per NBA.com. And by the way, StatMuse actually lists them at 137.4, which just so happens to be the highest offensive rating in NBA history with a minimum of 4 games played. They are so efficient, it's not even funny. And again, they are the number 1 rated offense in basketball. Indiana, though, is no slouch themselves. They finished the regular season as one of the NBA's 10 best offenses, ranking 9th in offensive rating at 115.4. They can put points up in a hurry. And to me, this has the potential to be the most competitive series of the second round due to the high-octane offenses on both sides. That's what makes this matchup so interesting. After all, the second round is when you truly begin to see things unfold. Both teams have strengths that they can lean on, and both undoubtedly have weaknesses that can be exploited. With that in mind, let's break down just how the Cavaliers can win this second round series. Roll the film. The tail of the tape. The Indiana Pacers and Cleveland Cavaliers tend to get the job done in different ways. As covered in the first round preview, the Cavs feature one of the more unique offenses in basketball. They finished the 2024-25 regular season scoring just 42% of their points in the paint and 47% on 2-pointers overall. That ranked 22nd and 26th in the NBA respectively. That said, when they choose to beat you in that way, they can absolutely do so. We just got a taste of that against Miami, in which Cleveland scored 45.5 points in the paint per game, the 5th most in the postseason as of recording this. They can beat you from both inside the painted area and from beyond the arc. They are 9th in the league in rim field goal percentage at 68.1% and first in all mid-range shots at 48% per cleaning the glass. Their biggest change by far has been their willingness to let it fly from 3-point range. A whopping 39.1% of their points are coming via the 3-point shot, good enough for 5th league-wide. And unlike last season where they were middle of the pack in terms of efficiency at 36.7%, they are number 2 in the league in terms of 3-point percentage, drilling home 38.3% of their trays. They are knocking down the NBA's 2nd most triples per game at 15.9 per contest, and it's clear that they value the 3-point shot, and rightfully so. All of that being said, this is the number 1 scoring offense in basketball, putting up 126 points per game. If there was any doubt before the playoffs began, it has all but been snuffed out. This team is officially an offensive juggernaut just waiting to pounce on its opponents, and much of that has been due to the changes in offensive philosophy. The Pacers, on the other hand, appear to be a very balanced team in their own right. Over the course of the regular season, they scored 43.5% of their points in the paint, 51.8% on 2-point field goals, and 40% on 3-point field goals, 12th, 7th, and 21st respectively. It feels a little dissimilar to Cleveland in those areas. However, the biggest area in which they differ may be Indiana's utilization of the mid-range shot. They attempted the league's 4th most shots from the mid-range area during the regular season at 11.2 per game and made its 4th most at 4.9 per game. In other words, they are quite skilled in the art of the mid-range shot as a collective, while Cleveland is bottom 8. It's just not a part of how Cleveland operates. Now, don't get me wrong, when they take it, they are effective, ranking 12th in percentage from that area at 42.4%, but ultimately, it's not a large part of the offense. Conversely, while Indiana may not be the most 3-heavy offense in the league, they are efficient, ranking 9th in overall 3-point percentage with numerous players on the roster that shot 35% or better from distance during the regular season. This year's Pacers team is also very effective around the rim, ranking 10th in rim field goal percentage at 68.1%. Overall, they are a pretty well-rounded offense that is capable of dismantling dismantling you from all zones. Not unlike Cleveland, they finished the regular season as the 4th most efficient team in basketball in mid-range looks, completing 47% of those shots, 11th in non-corner triples, and 7th in corner trays. And much like the Cavs, Indy operates at a top 10 pace, ranking 7th in the NBA in that area. Keys to victory: defend the mid-range shot. This one is pretty straightforward, but maybe a lot easier said than done. As mentioned before, Indiana was very effective in the mid-range area during the regular season. They have been even more effective in the playoffs so far. They are actually 2nd in efficiency from the mid-range, knocking down an incredible 51.9% on a staggering 15.4 attempts per contest. And the toughest part is that there are numerous contributors. It's not simply just 1 to 2 players doing damage. 6 Pacers have knocked down at least 3 attempts. But at the top of the food chain are Pascal Siakam and Andrew Nembhard, both of which have knocked down 10 or more, and very efficiently, might I add. The Cavs will need to adjust as often as needed, and I don't think it'll be as simple as playing within a zone or man-to-man. It will have to be a combination of both, as Indiana is a skilled enough shooting team that they could break a zone defense and have enough dependable drivers to penetrate the painted area. In other words, they'll have to balance things. Too much man-to-man could leave them vulnerable to isolation offense from a Pascal Siakam or an Andrew Nembhard or a Tyrese Halliburton. Too much zone could lead to Indiana shooting the lights out from 3-point range, something they did very effectively in the first round, knocking down 39.3% of their triples, 2nd best in the playoffs behind the Cavs. And for what it's worth, the Cavs only allowed opponents to shoot 40.6% from the mid-range area during the 2024-25 regular season, which was 12th best in the league. And it should also be noted that they absolutely shut things down from that zone against Miami, limiting the Heat to an icy 28.9% on mid-range looks, 2nd lowest in the playoffs. This tells us that Cleveland is capable and has been all season long at taking that away. The zone has been effective against it. Cleveland must adjust as needed, and that will be on the shoulders of Kenny Atkinson. Overcome the full court press. It's no secret, the Cavs have struggled at times with the full court press, and Indiana has been very successful at employing this defensive strategy against Cleveland and other teams at times this year. The full court press is best utilized to try and force turnovers and get easy baskets by pressuring, trapping, and harassing the offense, and it starts from the inbound. Indiana executed this to great effect in the team's first matchup against Cleveland, in which they used the likes of Ben Mathurin, Andrew Nembhard, and TJ McConnell to disrupt Darius, Garland, Donovan Mitchell, and others' ability to bring the ball up the floor. They forced 9 Cleveland turnovers in the second half of that matchup alone, and much of that can be attributed to the on-ball pressure being applied to the Cavs ball handlers. Indiana made it difficult for Cleveland to get the ball across half court, and I am certain that it will look to do much the same in this series. The length of defenders like Siakam, Mathurin, Jarrett Walker can cause problems out on the wings, so Cleveland must be judicious with the basketball and do their best to not expose the rock or throw any lackadaisical passes that could easily be picked off. If Cleveland is to beat the full court press, they will need to move the ball quickly and decisively, and as mentioned before, it will begin with the inbounds pass. The Cavs will need to inbound quickly, exploit any defensive openings leading to down-court passes or well-timed cuts, and look to avoid the trap by reversing the ball if possible. I foresee the guards screening for one another a lot in this series. Hell, Max Strus could play a pivotal role in it due to his abilities as a cutter, ball handler, and facilitator, which could lead to more off-ball opportunities for Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland alike. We've seen them defeat the full court press this year, but the pressure will be intensified in a postseason setting. It will need to be a collective effort. Contain the ball movement. This will be a difficult task. The Indiana Pacers are leading the pack in assists per game through the first round, and by a wide margin. Their 30 helpers per contest are 4.2 more than the next closest team as of recording this, which just so happens to be tied with the Cleveland Cavaliers and Golden State Warriors at 25.8. They move the ball so damn well. It's to a point where you have to be somewhat anticipatory in your coverage, as they will thread the needle in a variety of ways.
Really, the difference right now is Dame unable to truly get going from the field. That's what they rely on when Giannis is on the bench, and right now Dame on the bench as the Bucks go back to that zone defensively.
Yes, the drive and kick will always be a possibility with the likes of Tyrese Halliburton and TJ McConnell, who finished with the NBA's 10th and 17th most assists off of drives on the roster, but they move the ball along the perimeter like almost nobody else can. It has resulted in Indiana knocking down the 3rd most triples in the postseason so far, and in a highly efficient rate at that. There are passes out of the short roll, there are pick and pops that lead to additional passes, there are cuts along the baseline that lead to passes that swing back out to the perimeter, and furthermore, the cutting has led to them averaging the 6th most made field goals off of cuts through the first round. It's aesthetically pleasing at times, admittedly. As of right now, they lead the playoff field in total passes per game with an unbelievable 345.4 per outing, nearly 44 more than the next closest team, the Golden State Warriors, and 87 more than the Cleveland Cavaliers. Tyrese Halliburton is at the center of it all. He's made 431 of Indiana's 1,727 total passes. That is nearly a quarter of them.
Shooting just 31%. Wide open. Neesmith.
That is the most in the postseason, ahead of Nikola Jokic's 390 and Cade Cunningham's 338. As such, he has the most total assists out of any one player in the playoffs with 58. If Cleveland is to contain the ball movement, they must force the ball out of Halliburton's hands, which could be easier said than done, especially considering that they have been lethal from all zones. Maybe a half-court press is in order. Either way, one thing is for certain: rotations, closeouts, and the execution of the man-to-man defense will be critical in this series. Matchups to keep an eye on. Playoff basketball can be heavily matchup driven, right down to the individual matchups between two opposing rotations. Over the course of this series, there will be a few matchups that will be worth keeping an eye on. Some of them may prove more instrumental to victory than others. With that being the case, here are 3 matchups that could decide the fate of this first round matchup. Number 1, Andrew Nembhard versus Donovan Mitchell. Andrew Nembhard has been a quality source of offensive production for the Pacers this postseason. He averaged 15 points, 3.4 rebounds, and 4.8 assists while completing 49.2% of his shots, including 50% from three-point range during the first round. He has been a reliable role player for Rick Carlisle and company. That said, he has struggled against Cleveland this season. In the 4 regular season matchups between the two squads, Nembhard averaged 8.5 points and 6 assists and shot an icy 33.3% from the field, including 27.3% from distance. He has largely been held in check on that end. That much is fair. However, Nembhard's biggest impact in this series may lie on the defensive end. He spent the bulk of his minutes defending Donovan Mitchell when the two teams have met. He is credited with limiting Mitchell to 3 of 8, including 1 of 3 from three-point range across 2 games. He is quite honestly one of the best perimeter defenders at his position. He is in the 100th percentile in perimeter isolation defense per B-ball index and nearly always takes on the opposition's toughest perimeter assignment. As such, he is in the 100th percentile in matchup difficulty. Donovan Mitchell, on the other hand, needs no introduction. He is coming off a first-round series in which he put up 23.8 points per game, 3.3 rebounds, and 4 assists while shooting 47.8% from the field, including a white-hot 45.7% from three-point range. Spider will have an opportunity to put himself in rarefied air. He tied Michael Jordan's postseason record of 7 straight Game 1 performances of 30-plus points. He will enter Game 1 against the Pacers with the chance to break that record. Nembhard will do his best to make sure that that does not happen. Number 2, TJ McConnell versus Ty Jerome. Yes, a battle of backup point guards, 2 quality floor generals, 2 dependable reserves. In the blue corner, we have TJ McConnell, one of the more irritating point of attack defenders at his position, and one hell of a thief. In the red corner, or wine in this case, we have Ty Jerome, perhaps the best reserve in all of basketball and a starter on many other teams. He's very quickly become one of the deadliest offensive weapons in basketball, and the Cavaliers are very lucky to have him. This, my friends, could be a major factor in determining the outcome of this series. McConnell is legitimately one of the best backup floor generals in the NBA. He lacks size and length, but his toughness more than makes up for it. He will give Jerome no quarter. He has great instincts and has been a high-level pickpocket for years. McConnell plays within the 76th percentile in pickpocket rating and 94th percentile in passing lane defense. He can make life difficult for opposing guards. He is a solid on-ball defender relative to his size, and while his on-ball defensive skills deserve a ton of credit, so too do his off-ball skills. Just like Davion Mitchell in the matchup before him, he is very good at the chase. McConnell will effectively give chase to his matchups over any number of screens, and he is always engaged in tracking his target to make sure that he has the position needed to provide a proper contest of the shot. His screen navigation has been effective this season. But while TJ McConnell is a reliable defender and floor general, Ty Jerome has been even better as an all-around player. Among players averaging fewer than 20 minutes per game, he averaged the most points per game with 12.5, and his per 36 numbers are just ridiculous. Trust me when I say that he could have put up way more for Cleveland this year if he needed to. But that's the thing. thing, this Cavaliers team features maybe the deepest roster in the league. Therefore, he isn't likely to receive a minutes bump anytime soon, especially while he's backing up the likes of Darius, Garland, and Donovan Mitchell. He has been a steadying presence for the Cavaliers all season long, and that has continued into the postseason, where he is averaging 16.3 points, 3.5 rebounds, and 4.8 assists. But the most astounding part is the efficiency. He is shooting 52.4% from the field, including 50% from three-point range. This man has quite literally been a bucket. What a hell of a first postseason for him so far. It's a shame he hasn't gotten more love for Sixth Man of the Year. One thing's for certain in regards to this matchup, McConnell v. Jerome should be a very intriguing one. It's worth noting that McConnell didn't spend a lot of time defending Jerome during the regular season. He is credited with limiting him to 0 of 2 from the field. Number 3, Pascal Siakam versus Evan Mobley. Another series, another incredible individual matchup in the front court. Look, there is no other way to put it. This is the matchup that the people want to see. Evan Mobley has put together one of the best leaps in franchise history. He earned his first All-Star nod, brought home the Defensive Player of the Year award, which was the first in franchise history, is sure to be named first team All-Defense, and is very likely to be named to an All-NBA team. In short, it's been a terrific season for the fourth-year big man. Through 4 postseason showings, Mobley is averaging 16.3 points, 6.5 rebounds, and is completing 59.5% of his field goals. But his most impressive contribution has been his floor spacing. Ladies and gentlemen, Evan Mobley is completing 47.1% of his three-point shots. And even better than that is the volume. He is attempting 4.3 per game. Evan Mobley has clearly morphed into a viable three-point shooter. That said, it's going to take more than a 4-game sample size for the rest of the NBA to truly trust it. Pascal Siakam, like Donovan Mitchell, doesn't really need an introduction. He's a former champion, a 2-time All-NBAer, and was named to his 3rd career All-Star team this year. He represents a difficult matchup for Mobley and will undoubtedly pull him out of the painted area with his ability to knock down the triple. It is that could ultimately make this individual matchup one to keep an eye on. Siakam will keep Mobley on his toes and on the move. One thing to take notice of, Siakam is a killer in transition. He is currently one of 3 Pacers in the top 5 in transition points per game this postseason at 1.64. Mobley held Siakam to 5 of 11 from the field during the regular season when acting as his primary defender, and he has a real chance to wipe the slate clean and shut his water off in this series. But it will be no easy task, even for the newly minted Defensive Player of the Year. The key will be just how well Mobley is able to defend the three-point line. He will be pulled out to the perimeter and must close out without biting on that pump fake. If defending the drive, he must use the rule of verticality to his advantage to contest Siakam at the rim. Now, offensively speaking, Mobley should look to attack Indy's front court off the dribble while taking what the defense gives him from beyond the arc.
LeVert somehow finds Mobley. Dangerous pass. Mobley spins and scores.
X factors for this series. When breaking this series down, there are a handful of possible X factors that could play a huge role in determining the victor of the series. Let's start with Darius Garland. Darius Garland returned to form in a major way this season, and as a result, he earned his 2nd career All-Star berth. His success has usually correlated in the Cavs' success in some form or fashion, and they will need him to be on his game if they intend to dispatch the Pacers, especially considering the nasty full court press that will undoubtedly be thrown their way. Darius Garland will be key in overcoming it. His handle, facilitation, and scoring acumen will all be utilized over the course of this series. Like Halliburton, Garland suited up in just 2 of the 4 matchups during the regular season and put up averages of 22 points and 7 assists while completing 47.1% of his field goals, but struggled with the perimeter shot, completing just 29.4% of his triples. He missed the final 2 games of the Miami Heat series, but was highly effective in the 2 games in which he did play. He averaged 24 points, 2.5 rebounds, and 7 assists while knocking down 51.6% of his shots, including 41.2% of his trays. He was locked in from an offensive standpoint, and he will need to bring that same level of confidence and firepower where the Cavaliers could be in for a dogfight. Tyrese Halliburton. Tyrese Halliburton's play will be pivotal for the Indiana Pacers as they take on the Eastern Conference's best team. He appeared in 2 of the 4 games between the 2 teams this season, and in those 2 games, Halliburton averaged 12.5 points, 4.5 rebounds, and 7.5 assists, but shot just 42.9% from the field, including an absolutely abysmal 30.8% from range. The stat sheet says that he struggled with his shot, but is heavily skewed because of his first performance, where he was held to 2 points on 1 of 5 from the field. His other performance saw him finish 2 rebounds shy of a triple-double as he put up 23 points, 8 rebounds, and 10 assists while completing 8 of 16 from the field, including 4 of 11 from deep. In order for the Pacers to have any possible chance at upsetting this Cavs team, Halliburton will need to bring his A game. Conversely, this means that if the Cavs can shut his water off, the Pacers could be in for a quick 2nd round exit. Time will tell. Sam Merrill. Sam Merrill has been a catalyst for this Cavs team through the first round. His perimeter defense on numerous Heat players, including his work on Tyler Herro, was inspiring, especially his screen navigation and ball denial. He was so impactful that Kenny gave him the starting nod in place of an injured Darius Garland in games 3 and 4 of that series. He may never wow you with his total stat line, but his impact is felt. He is a knockdown perimeter shot, and his gravity can be a real asset, especially in lineups that already feature great shooters alongside him, because it not only causes the defense to panic, but it opens the floor even more so for the drivers. And as we've seen, he is capable of being a two-way player for stretches, and generally that comes in the form of his screen navigation and ability to stay attached to his assignments. Merrill can legitimately make life difficult on anyone trying to use a pick to get to the ball. As such, he is in the 100th percentile in off-ball chaser defense and the 92nd percentile in ball screen navigation per b-ball index. His perimeter shot can come and go, but it's been more on as of late. He ended this season shooting 37.2% from range, but 39.4% post All-Star break, and is completing 38.9% of his perimeter attempts through the first round. I believe that he could once again be an X factor off the bench for Cleveland. Time will tell. Jarrett Allen. Despite a number of stellar individual performances, Jarrett Allen's may have been the most impressive. In the Cavs' domination of the Heat, Allen averaged a 14.3 point, 10.3 rebound double-double while shooting a staggering 77.8% from the floor. That was a mighty impressive feat, but honestly, what impressed me the most was his play on the defensive end. Not only was he a straight-up thief, doing things that we haven't quite seen in a postseason since 2002 in Cleveland, but he was locking things down in his individual matchups as well.
Being able to guard 1 through 5.
It's no question, but then it's also Jarrett Allen. You can see there, he can move his feet.
He held his matchups to a collective 44.2% in the first round. He will draw a tough assignment in Miles Turner, one of basketball's best floor stretchers at the center position. Turner comes in completing 37.5% of his dribbles this playoffs and will undoubtedly pull Allen outside at times. And for what it's worth, Jarrett Allen has actually been one of basketball's best at switching out onto the perimeter and limiting that shot. He held opponents to a collective 34.5% from three-point distance during the regular season and is so far holding opponents to 33.3% in the first round. Allen himself isn't a floor spacer, but he can draw Turner out to the perimeter through the use of the DHO in pick and roll, something he does very well. Allen's presence is often key for opening up space for a multitude of shooters on this Cavs roster. That was on full display against the Heat. Look for it to be replicated to a degree in the second round.
To him. Well, that's a perfect. How about that give and go action there? Just
DeAndre Hunter. DeAndre Hunter is yet another X factor. He was absolutely phenomenal off the bench in the first round, putting up 13 points, 2.8 rebounds, and 1.3 assists in the process, but it was his efficiency that truly stood out. He completed 48.5% of his field goals, including 61.5% from beyond the arc. In fact, he is leading the entire playoff field in three-point percentage as of recording this, ahead of Jarrett Walker's 60%. He continues to be thought of as one of the Cavs' biggest X factors in this playoffs, and that continues in Game 1 against the Indiana Pacers. His ability to create for himself, knock down the outside shot, and defend at a high level all will make him an extremely important piece of the puzzle for head coach Kenny Atkinson. It should be noted that Hunter was not on the roster in the first two matchups against Indy and didn't play in the final one, but in the game that he did appear in, he was outstanding, putting up 23 points, 11 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, and 1 block, just absolutely filling up the stat sheet while going 9 of 19 from the field. That type of production off the bench is always a welcome sight, but where he may most impact the game is defensively. His size will prove helpful in taking on matchups like Pascal Siakam. Hunter limited his opponents to a combined 37.1% in the first round, and if Cleveland is to win this series, they will need to lean on their big wing, Dean Wade. Dean Wade may always be an X factor for the Cavs due to his size, defensive ability, rebounding, and three-point shot. He is an indispensable part of this Cavs playoff rotation. The most valuable part of his contribution, though, comes on the defensive side. It's his versatility on that end of the floor that will be of high importance. Dean Wade grades as one of the NBA's most versatile defenders, and as such, he plays within the 90th percentile in defensive positional versatility per b-ball index. The Cavs will throw him on some of the toughest matchups in the game, and Wade will sink or swim. And he's been more swim than sink, but I'll be honest, he's been cooked by Pascal Siakam this year. Siakam went 10 of 13 from the field with Wade as his primary defender, and all but one of those attempts came from inside the three-point line. There wasn't a lot of fluff. I think Wade will spend a considerable amount of time defending him in this series. Those minutes could be critical, heaven or hell. Well, that'll do it for this one, folks. Cleveland has a good challenge in front of them. How will it all end? Let me know in the comments below. As always, go Cavs.
Mobley, the three, Evan Mobley.